Starseed Activations. So I just want to say thank you guys very much for always coming, always following my work. I do have the book out. And so the book is my ascension guide. So everyone was asking me to post it up so that you guys can see all of the posts on Facebook that we have all gone through together over and over again. They are all in the book. This way you guys can see and you can read and then send in your questions. So we have a bunch of really good questions for tonight is October 5th. It is a beautiful month. This is one of my favorite months. And so the leaves are starting to change colors. There's pumpkins everywhere and everyone is in a fall festive pumpkin spice mood. It's wonderful. So the first question that we actually had, does our DNA type, whether it be O positive, O negative, A or B, affect what type of extrasensory abilities we manifest or our galactic origins? This is a very, very interesting topic. Now, of course, I started talking to my starman before even turning on the camera. And what he said was, there's 4 seasons, there's 4 heart chambers, there's 4 brain chambers, like the brain hemispheres. There's 4 of them total. There's also 4 seasons. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 months in a year. Right now, because we are not on a lunar calendar, we are on a solar calendar. So the solar shifts have 12. Now, this is important because solar is energetic in its nature, is directly connected and tied into the chi energetic systems. And so we have a stargate above our head. That stargate has 12 points, and each one of those points is an experiential. So each experience must be opened and fine-tuned to allow access through that stargate. So yes, each and every person with a different blood type, because there is 4 in specific, they are going to be attuned to have different gates or different experientials open and actively running for their simulation to proceed. This is all pre-programmed at the time of conception. So at the time of conception, our higher self, the you before you came here, actually pre-programs things like your birthday, your birth time. Even if your birth time, it may have seemed very spontaneous. Your mother may have told you, oh, you were born in the backseat of a cab. That's okay too. So it was very spontaneous, but your higher self knew what time exactly to a T that you were going to be born. All of this goes into your binary codex frequency. That binary codex frequency is what determines your hair color, your eye color, your skin tone. All of this information in the biological field is inside of your binary codex frequency. This is important too, because the amount of children that we are going to have is also located in the binary codex frequency, as well as because you can pull the DNA from the children from your DNA. It is a light code expression. Now, the star people tell us we can look at the ancestral karma 7 generations back. We can also look 7 generations forward. Now, when we start looking at the generations forward, this means most of the times our scientists on this planet, they can pull the DNA of your unborn children. It is located in the junk DNA because not much scientific or mainstream knowledge has come out, but it's in there. The DNA on the children can also tell who the father is because the DNA of the child is encoded. It's already in the light. It's already done. So this goes into the whole aspect of time and space and the now moment being the only time that truly exists. And that is because it is already written in this current timeline experiential. Now, this does not mean that we should take it as just a simulation because we have the true multidimensional capabilities of diving into the body to making changes or modifications to the frequency coding, which then in turn is going to change the timeline. We call it a timeline, but it is just your current vibratory frequency, which allows for a perception into this current reality. This current reality that we experience can change at a minute's glance. I personally, and you guys may have heard me say this on many episodes, but I personally have seen changes in the simulation. And so there was one time I was coming out of my mother's house. I was going to Dunkin' Donuts to get an iced coffee, and I looked at my cat, and his name was Munchkin. And he did not look like my cat, but I knew he was my cat. He was looking at me and I knew it. And I had stopped and said, that's not Munchkin. And then my eyes had blinked from left to right. And then the coloring on my Munchkin changed back to the Munchkin I knew. So once you see something like that, it's like, wait a minute. There's no way did I just see that? I just saw that. I know what I saw. So the simulation, we're able to make changes and modifications instantly. The second that we can recognize every single thing in the physical reality that we see outside of us is connected to the frequencies inside of us. So when we start to dive in deep, we start to really go inside of the internal programming systems, we can start to make changes. Now, the way that we do this is going to always start with how does it feel? And so we can pick up different crystals, for an example, and the different crystals, how does this one make you feel? Now, this was an interesting topic that came up in one of my sessions today because we picked up and we were like, how does this emotion code make you feel? So many times when we are speaking on attachments, we're taught, this is how the star people guided us, to dive into the memories and expand. How did that memory make you feel? Well, now what they said is the reason why I am here to write an attachment book, which is all of the emotion codes wrapped into the actual attachments, names and images for some of them. But they said, summon the emotion code. So if everyone takes a deep breath in and then you summon the emotion code of, let's say, happiness, and you feel it inside of your body. How does that happiness make you feel? Now change the emotion code. Do bliss. How does the bliss make your body feel? Feel it inside of your body. You guys can do it right now. There's no rush. Just take a nice deep breath in and release. Allowing this overwhelming sensation of joy and bliss to just wash over your complete biological form. How did this make you feel inside? Did you smile? Did you get warm and tingly? Did it make your head move up a tiny bit? Because many times you may notice when a person is sad, they tend to look down, they hunch over in their shoulders. When someone's very happy, the shoulders usually keep back a little bit and then their head is ever so slightly up. Not too much up, but just ever so slightly up. Now, this is very important because we can see physically and scientifically speaking, we can see that every single emotion code has an impact on the biological form. That means your emotion that you are currently holding, it is going to impact the physical of your body to such a degree in which it can make you stand straighter up. And we know this as a stand-up kind of guy. That means he always tells the truth. And that's because the energy is flowing correctly through all of the primary chakra systems, as well as coming out of the top of the head. That is a stand-up person. Now, when you do things like yoga or any type of body stretching, what you're doing is you are shifting the energetic field. When you shift the energetic field, if there is any trapped emotions inside of the body, you're going to be able to release those emotions by generating a new body expression, which is when, even if, let's say, you put your hands on your hips and you have your feet slightly apart, that's like an I'm in charge pose. And so that pose itself is going to start to reflect the emotion. Now, when we start to do it from a physical perspective, so the star people are showing me, when we start to do physical expressions or stretching, it takes a moment or two to make the shift into the energy field. The energy field will shift the physical body instantaneously. So if we have an emotion that is very strong, that emotion can make us sick instantaneously. Many times it turns the stomach, and so you may feel your stomach flip or do somersaults. That's okay too. Now, because the emotion flips the body instantaneously, it just takes a moment to go back in and to be sucked into that soul form tubule. We have a primary tubule. This is our 0 point channel. Now, the 0 point or the slipstream is located inside of the heart chakra. So when we make a body motion or movement, this includes any of the micro expressions. So anyone who has studied micro expressions can tell you if a person has a very tiny look to them, there's usually an emotion that they are running underneath a micro expression. Now, micro expressions, once again, The second that you are expressing anything in the physical reality, it is impacting it at the cellular levels, but also the soul level. So it takes a moment to make a biological change to the internal circumstances, which is basically the energy grids inside of you. Now, many times when we start to hold bliss-based emotions, it takes a split second. The second that you can hold that emotion, it resonates through the entire field of you. So it's very important to start to take control and to change or modify your emotion codes so that we can cast ourselves into the inspirational frequency bandwidth. There's a whole bandwidth to that because all the angel codes are up in the inspiration frequency wavelength the star people are saying. Now, this is important because different angel books will also tell you, oh, well, there's all these different angels and they all have different names and they all have different numbers to them. And then they go per birthday. So there's 365 days in a year. And so there must be 365 links into the angels. So there's different he's showing me like a moon sign and a sun sign, so it kind of works similar to that. And then each one of the angels is holding its own emotion code. This is important because when you start to tune into inspiration, now if you guys have ever put on religious music, there's no other music that I personally know of that's inspirational unless we're talking like spiritual music where it just makes you feel like you are connected to something higher than yourself. That's what we want to listen to because it's generating that emotion code of inspiration. Now, what the star people are telling us is that there's a whole range of high frequency emotions that are higher than that range, and we're just unaware of it because we're not in alignment to receive it yet. We're still too far down on the 3D range, but that's okay too, because having the awareness, oh, there is frequencies of love and bliss that is higher than anything I've experienced before, is going to allow it to start the manifestation process. We only need one human being who is connected into the human consciousness grids, or we would need an extraterrestrial race to beam the emotion code into the human consciousness grids. Thank you, star people, to allow one of us to experience that high frequency of inspiration. However, the star people are also stepping forward and they're saying that they're doing it for multiple channels during this time so that the high frequency of above inspiration, it's like sainthood, has already been downloaded into the human consciousness grids, thus allowing each and every one of us to tune into that frequency. Many times we can do this unknowingly because it just is something inside of you that will start to radiate out when enough of the shadow work is fully fulfilled. And that shall allow you to hold in a more love or positive based emotional frequency, which then in turn has the potential to shift your entire physical material. That physical material is going to allow you to tune into not only a higher frequency, but it is going to allow the perception of your individualized physical reality to change or shift, putting you at a right place at the right time to only experience such love, joy, and bliss, dear ones. Excellent. So now the next question. I feel very blissful right now. It's absolutely amazing, not gonna lie. It's great. Okay. When we use oracle cards as a divination tool, how seriously can we take them? Sometimes I'll get a complete opposite cards, as in a yes and no type of situation. So oracle cards are very similar to the fact where it's very similar to a pendulum. And so a pendulum, it is your hand and your higher self is guiding your hand because you're trying to blank out the conscious mind, allowing that free pass or that tool to give you an answer. So long as the oracle cards, let's say you're getting a no every single time when you know the answer is a yes, but you're getting it repetitively. And so, but now it goes against a statistical nature. So if you're getting it every single time, even if it's the opposite, you're still getting an answer that is consistent. Many times when we look at oracle cards, we are supposed to take them with a grain of salt, but some people who believe in them, the more and more you believe in them, the more you'll start to see the magic happen, and then it will manifest. Oh, my oracle cards are always right. So the more you say affirmations over the oracle cards, the more it's going to manifest, so it's right. And then it's right more. So your belief patterns, it's more than a belief. It's what you know to be true in your heart shall always ring true in your simulation. And that is because when something rings, it is made of a frequency, and that frequency generates the physical reality as we see it. Sometimes we may need to get the no to give us a disbelief so that we don't put full faith into that. That's okay too, because that's just an experience. Maybe you're not meant to have full faith in that. Maybe you're meant to question everything, because in the process of questioning everything, it allows everything to expand for you. This is also known as being the seeker. Now, this is a very, very important part of this process, because in order to truly seek spiritual knowledge, you have to go get it. You have to make steps in the physical. You have to show that you want it. There are certain religions, I believe the Jewish religion does this as well. They send people away 3 times. So you knock on the door and they're like, go away. You have to be persistent. There's a reason that they picked the number 3, because the number 3 is connected into the source frequency wave. So it's similar to that 4 times 3 equals 12. And there's 12 months in a year, there's 4 seasons. It's all connected down at the binary codex frequency, because everything in this reality has a sacred geometric patterning, which is made of mathematical sequences as well. But geometry is a shape, but it has mathematical built into it. The human body is no different. When we start to look outside of the body into nature, nature starts to prove the connection between us and every single thing that we see in the world, whether it be a rock, a crystal, or a tree. It's all connected to us. And actually, if you guys can see, this is a flower of life image behind me. That flower of life image, when you take a strand of DNA and you cut it in half, that is what you see, a flower of life image. It's inside every single living organism, whether it be a dragonfly, a butterfly, or a human. All of it is all connected. Now, when we start to talk about the energetic grid complex, the complex is the entire field outside of your physical body. Now, that complex has 3 degrees in the outside, and in the inside, it also has 3 degrees of your internal circumstances. So the different aspects of the grids are connected into this star field, as well as a ring system. The star people call it your rings. Your rings are on top of your heads, and that is because the center tubule makes up your physical form. Then the middle tube is the location ring. That location ring pertains to, we need to do a rebalancing. So just real quick, everyone take a nice deep breath in. Beautiful. Excellent. Your location ring controls all of the locations that you see throughout the physical day, as well as any locations that you see on the television set, or any locations that may currently be brought into your consciousness or awareness. Now, that location ring can also be made changes or modifications to. So when we start to do things like energetic casting into, let's say, your backyard, we can either generate a vortex energetic, which is a life-giving frequency in its nature, or we can start to generate larger energy shifts among the entire group or civilization. That in turn, if you bring the heart chakra into cohesion, it is going to radiate such a frequency from your aura field, which then in turn radiates out. The more you can cast your aura field out, it is going to allow this cohesion to radiate amongst all of the heart rates of all of the men surrounding you. Now, this process is a true blessing, because when one wants to make changes to the human consciousness grids, the changes start in the heart of each and every one of us. And so when we dive into our hearts, we can change the frequency. The way we change the frequency is, how does it make you feel? How does your heart feel right now? When you are holding love and bliss shall radiate out. It shall encode every single thing that you touch in your life. When you add love to every single aspect of your life, your entire life changes. This is how people are able to come inside, and they're able to crawl their way from the bottom of a barrel, and they're able to just love everything about their lives. And then all of a sudden their entire life will shift very rapidly. So the more focus and attention that you can place on making your life peaceful, making it beautiful, even if you have to start, and this is the way I started with 1 square in my house. So And one tiny little tile, I cleaned that tile. If there was anything junk or lingering stuff, that was the spot where I started my room. And then the next day I did a little more and I baby stepped the process. Everything with me was a baby step. It happened very, very rapidly, but in my mind, in the now moment, it was all baby step processes. And so it's okay to walk a block today. Tomorrow, I'm going to do a block and a half. The next day, it was, hey, can you do a little more? It's okay if you can't. And then the next day, if I had to lay down, because I had a back injury at the time, and if I had to lay down, I did. And I didn't really push myself, but I knew baby steps was the way to go for me. This allows us to really step into our true power, because many times when we are trying to, oh, the sound is trying to mess up. That's okay. Many times when we are trying to make changes in our life, we can get overwhelmed very rapidly. There's so much spiritual knowledge out there that even tuning into 4 or 5 or 6 different modalities, it can become very overwhelming for us. So we just baby step the process and do what makes you feel better. So if you did something yesterday and today it made you feel better, then keep doing that. And then one day, maybe it doesn't make you feel better. That's a sign that is no longer needed or no longer in alignment. And so we have to know when to release things too. Now, how can we consciously program dreams? Is it simply by intention before going to bed, or is there more to it? We have something, this is all of us. We have something known as the dream walker ability. The dream walker ability is the ability to close your eyes, to become lucid in the dream, and then to make changes or modifications to the programming of the dream, which then in turn, it starts to change or shift our magnetism, which allows us to wake up in the real physical world and start seeing whatever it was that was in the dream programmed into the real physical reality that we see. I've done this before, so I know for a fact it's true. I've seen it. And when you see it, it gives you experiential experiences. And when you have your own experiences with it, then you learn by your experiences. Your experiences is the most important and valuable thing. And we are taught to discard or react to our own experiences. But when we see something, we should always know, okay, well, wait a minute, I saw something, so I know it was true. Now, intention is key when you are trying to expand the gift, because while you're in the physical reality, by speaking it, speak it to the body's waters. And so the body's waters tell it, thank you, body, for activating my dream walker abilities. Thank you, body, for activating my astral abilities. Thank you, body, for activating my lucid abilities, because there's 3 different types of abilities in the internal circumstances. Now, when we start to go inside, you can make contact and communication with interdimensional beings. They are on the inside of your body. There are layers in the inside, and then there are layers on the outside. The extra dimensional beings are on the outside of your body. Sometimes we can go into a walking meditation, which is when your eyes are open, and yet your subconscious and your conscious mind, they all become activated and they start a synchronization process. This has a lot to do with achieving alpha brainwave patterning, which is when you are in that zone of focus. Say you are painting a painting. But if we can dive deep into a meditation, now this one you have to go deep for, but if you can tune into gamma and lambda. Lambda is a very high frequency. It's very, very rapid in its frequency patterning, the star people are saying, which then in turn allows for more light to be absorbed through that light column or your star tubule, and it comes down into the 0 point and it reflects into your complete physical form. When you do that, spontaneous healings can also manifest for us. So we can instantaneously heal things. Now, when we start to do certain meditations, there's many, many different meditations. There is not just the type of meditation where you sit down and you go into bed and you blank out for an hour or 2. That's wonderful to do too. And that is great for trying to instantaneously heal and for tuning into that high lambda frequency. That's wonderful to do. Now, there's walking meditations with our eyes open. We're blanking out the consciousness. I've always gotten tunnel vision. And so I used to ride a motorcycle and they used to be like, you get tunnel vision really easy. And I had no idea that that tunnel vision was a form of meditation. So I naturally blank into meditations very, very rapidly. That's okay too, because when you're tuning into meditations, it actually is an ability to change or shift your timelines very rapidly. Because now, the second that you understand how to cast your energetics, you can change what you see. And you do this by your knowing, but it's also an emotional casting. So you have to hold a high frequency. Now, the second that you are, and here's one example. Me and my kids, we were doing bottle flips. And so their father was with us. So there's two kids, there's me and the father. And so we are all flipping a bottle to get the bottle to land up, had a little bit of water in it. This is what you do, right? We have fun. And so we were all doing a bottle flip. So we were having fun, we were laughing, and it was really a high vibe moment. Now, we couldn't get the bottles to land at all. And so in a split second, and of course I did this in my mind, I put my hands out, right? So they were like this. And I thought in my mind, thank you, being grateful, thank you for letting both the bottles land at the same time. And so it was like, whoop, whoop, and they both landed. That's how we energetically cast. You have to utilize the emotions. You have to get your emotion to like super excited. It has to be really like a high frequency of love, joy, and bliss and excitement. And when you can do that and you're having fun and you're laughing, it connects you right into the source frequency. And then that's when you want to energetically cast. So set the intention. Thank you. Always give gratitude because you're giving first. I'm giving thanks. Give first. When you give to the hologram first, the hologram gives back to you tenfold. So even like some activities that we do, like first thing in the morning before eating anything, we give first. So we go for the walk first thing in the morning before we eat, because we're giving energy to the hologram before we are receiving. And then that sets the day up completely different when you do things just like that. And then of course we do the ice baths and stuff. That's what I'm doing right now. So even though I'm at a certain level of my journey, we're still bringing in different modalities to see and just to try, right? And just to see, okay, what's going to happen if I keep doing this? Am I going to feel better? If I'm going to feel better, I'm going to keep doing it. If I stumble and fall, that's okay too. I can always try again. I can fail 1,000 times and that's fine. I'm my biggest judge and jury, but I only have to get it right once. You guys know this because a whole bunch of you quit smoking with me, right? We quit soda together. We quit smoking. There was a whole bunch of things. Sugar, right? We quit sugar together. So it truly is amazing to have you guys as a tribe and as a community, because I know whatever I'm doing, I'm like, do it with me. So if you guys are game, come do the ice baths, right? I do them right in my bathtub. I get the 20-pound bag of ice. At first, I did a tiny bit of ice. I'm not going to lie. It was like, I don't want to do this, but I did it. And now it's like, put a 20-pounder in. We got this, right? Paige, let me tell you something. When you do the ice bath, it is true. All of the monkey mind and the thoughts, all that stuff goes right out the window. And it's like the only thing you were thinking of is just breathe. And, you know, that's funny, too, because when in 2019, when I had hit my whole change in my life, there was a moment where I was so filled with so much anxiety. And I was like, just breathe became my mantra. It was like, oh God, I can't do this. I'm going to die. Right. And it was like, just breathe and take a step. Just breathe and take a step. That's anxiety when you do that. And so in the ice bath, that anxiety triggers, that's your fight or flight systems. And then you just breathe. And then all of a sudden it's like, it gets real quiet. And then you're like, oh, now what do I think about? Right. And then now it's like, oh, wow. So now what the star people have me doing in that ice bath is, because now I'm kind of used to it, but now they're like, feel your body as heat and allow that heat to expand. And I can feel heat coming off the body as I'm in the ice bath. And I'm like, if your hand is under the water, and so it's ice cold water, but all of a sudden it's like you were casting this heat energy. And if your hand moves, you feel the heat that you just cast, and then you go and you feel the ice water. So it's like kind of going through a pile of heat, and then all of a sudden you touch into the ice water. So it's really interesting what we can do with our chi energetic systems when we are consciously projecting. The energy systems are electrical in its nature, but it can also generate the heat. That heat comes from the upper heart thermostat. And so just imagine that you are hot, and all of a sudden your body makes it hot. When we go to bed at night, our body generates enough heat so that we don't need a blanket. And so if you've ever gone to sleep without a blanket, you're supposed to, because your body generates all the heat that you need to keep you warm throughout the day, which is amazing. The second that we start putting blankets and all the things on top of us, your body doesn't need to generate that much heat. So it actually evolved to keep us warm. How long do I do the ice bath? So I do it for 2 songs, which is actually like 3 because one of the songs has an additional song. It's about 7.5 minutes. So for right now. And after, but I always feel like I could go longer than it. I'm like, oh, it's 2 songs. And online said I only have to do 10 minutes a week. So 7 minutes every day, every other day. That's fine. Yeah. Are they training you to learn how to control your temperature in your body? We can do this with work. Yes, they are training me many, many, many different things. So there is multiple extrasensory abilities that I personally dive into. Now, of course, the number one thing that they're guiding me to do is the shadow work. And I'm still doing it, even though you would never know. Like, you would never know I still do shadow work because I walk around all happy all the time. And then, but it's like, bam, we have to dive in deeper to the shadow work because let me tell you, and I've experienced this personally in my life, so I know what it feels like. But the Star People and I have done certain advanced shadow work sessions in which I felt very, very high frequencies and very high frequencies. So I know what the capability is and I know what it feels like. Now, when we start to be around very high frequency people, you'll feel it. And it's like an essence that they have. That's what I'm trying to shoot for in time. It's a baby step process, right? But in time, that's where I want to go. So you have to continuously keep focusing on releasing any density, releasing any emotions that no longer resonate with you. You have to continuously focus on what you're engaging with. So are you eating clean? That's something I'm focused on right now. When we hit a high enough frequency range, we will not have to worry about the food or any of the things that we interact with. It's a baby step process to get into the higher ranges. So just so everyone's aware, because really, really high frequency, like let's just use Jesus Christ for an example. If he ate something or someone tried to poison him, he would not be affected. It's kind of like that. That's what that high frequency range does to your body. There's many different ways to manifest that. So lately, everyone has been telling me, I'm talking to, I feel it in the throat. It's like, sometimes one of you guys has a distortion in the throat. And because I do attachment releases with people, I feel all the density that you guys have. There's an energetic link or a grid that happens between all people when we're on the live streams, and that's okay too. And it works actually throughout time and space, as Star People are saying. So when you guys have densities or distortions, many times my energy field cleans it for you. And that's because the Star People do light linguistics through it. And then it allows that clearing to come for every single person. So that's why people always say when they listen, they feel higher frequency or they feel happier when they listen to the videos. That's because there's a frequency coming down through it to allow you guys to feel that way, which is wonderful. Okay, let's see. In one, let me take a sip. This is my Paw Patrol Happy Halloween glow in the dark cup. It's wonderful. Okay. In one of my other lives, mentioned using magnets to cleanse chakras by starting at the front head and going back the spine. So we start here at the chin or even at the throat, and we go all the way up, and then we go all the way down the spine. Now, let me tell you guys something. These are high frequency magnets, these 2 that I have. And you can kind of tell when you take one side is north and one side is south. We don't know which side is which yet. But let's say you put it up to your temple. You hold your arm out and then you have someone push the arm down while you're holding it one side. If the arm doesn't go down, that means that the side that's closest to your skin is north. When you turn it around and someone pushes, if your arm goes down right away, that means it's south. So a south-facing magnet, it pulls the energy out of your system. And then the north-facing magnet, it pushes the energy into your system. This is very important because now that we can recognize this, we know you have to use both sides of the magnets. And my thing just flashed. Maybe the magnets are too close to the laptop. You have to use both sides of the magnet. And so one is we take a meridian system, we pull all of the energy out. So we cleanse it, we take it, all the darkness out, and then we push a positive frequency in. So we want to always use both sides of the magnets. Very, very important. Do the magnets need to be cleansed? No. The magnets are always holding that magnetized frequency. And do I use one or two magnets? I have to, but I usually just only have to use one, and then I flip it over so that I remember, okay, now I have to turn the magnet over so I get it. And then that's it. That's what we do. Now, many times when we utilize a magnet, it allows us to do chakra or emotion clearings that we would not otherwise be able to clear. And so just imagine if there is a trapped emotion and you're currently unaware of that emotion. By using a magnet, it allows you to pull the emotion out. All of our emotions are magnetic in their nature, and magnetized emotions, it imprints the cellular structure. And so it changes the flow of the chi energetic systems. This is your electrical systems. Your magnetism as well as your electrical systems, they meet or intertwined inside of the heart. We call that the 0 point. The 0 point is a place of neutrality. So it is a place where we can come inside of the 4 chambers of the heart and we can hold neutral. And that grants us access into this slipstream, which is where your basic soul form lines up directly in the center of the body. It comes out of the head and it goes all the way up to the star gate. The star people are saying that star gate has a 12 pointed star, and then 13 is the gate through the center. So each one of the 12 points, some of them have been activated. Most of the times we go through 12 major experiences in our lifetimes where those experiences have to be healed. That's okay too. Because we have to heal those experiences, it allows us the opportunity to go into each trauma. We're only going to use the word trauma because we understand that. There's a darkness there. This is your experiential. You have to have darkness. You have to hold neutral to it. And then you have to shine light on it. So the darkness, neutral, send the light. When you do all three, it unlocks one of those triangles and it allows for further access through the Stargate to happen. You have to unlock all 12 to fully access into 5D frequencies. That process happens when we do the shadow work and when we start pulling the trapped emotions out of the body. Now, like I was telling you guys earlier, the attachments, you can summon the attachments. And so summoning attachments is wild. This is like a whole new concept of being able to energetically cast attachments at people. Now, I'm not saying this so we can go and cast dark ones, but there are light codes as well. And so it was funny because this morning, as I was on my 4-mile walk, the star people were like, instead of saying good morning to people, which we mourn something that's very sad, they said, why don't you say peace be with you? And I was like, no, I'm not saying that. That's too religious. We can't do that one. All right. And so they were like, well, pick something that's like loving, caring, kind. Shine your sunshine, right? Say something. So you can cast attachments at people. The attachments can either be dark or light. So things like joy be with you, peace be with you, right? Or, oh, I hope, blessings, many love and blessings. Send them something instead of saying good morning. Send them something that is going to impact their energy field and it's going to allow them to express that attachment or that messenger. So when we are casting positive attachments, you have to hold an emotion, any emotion. But it has to be a love-based emotion because we are dealing with positive love-based emotion castings. So if we want to cast the attachment of joy, then we have to hold love and just imagine sending them that love or hold a high frequency of that love and then cast the attachment. The same way that we did the bottle cups, that's what you have to do to the random people walking by. You guys can do this as you're driving the car too. You could drop into the heart, shine love and light, and then you can say, I love and bless your car. I love and bless your car. I love and bless your drivers. And do it to everyone around you. And so what we're doing is now we start summoning the light codes. And the light codes have the angels attached to it, in which now it's kind of like you are assigning an angel to each and every person. I know that sounds weird to say for some of you, but this is real. And so I personally have had experiences where the star people were like, you didn't dismiss the deities being the angels, because we were doing attachment clearings, calling in the angels. And so, and they were like, the angels are still in your room. And I was like, really? I didn't know we had to send them off. And they were like, yes. And so that's happened a couple of times with me. So it's like, now I recognize that, okay, the star people can see angels. They're real entities. They're just at a higher frequency. We can't see them. And then when we ask them, or we're thankful for them to bless people, they actually go and do it. So I'm assuming in time, human-based technology is going to get to such a degree in which we will be able to see them as well, because anything that you can have a frequency for, there has to be a piece of technology here on Earth, not star people technology, but here on Earth, that can see or detect different frequency ranges. It makes sense. The Ghostbusters had the goggles too, right? And so they can see the ghosts. The ghosts were at a lower frequency. We want to dive into the higher frequency ranges. Now, the higher frequency ranges, a lot of times they look like light. But that light, it gets to be like infrared. And so our eyes can't see that light. But does that mean it doesn't exist? Infrared is very real. Now we can see in the dark. And that's because we are picking up on different light spectrums. So there is always going to be a way for us to manifest these different things. Now, the second that we can recognize that there's other frequencies here that we can't see, it allows us to start diving in and ask the higher self, okay, I can't see gamma waves. I can't see gamma, but what does it feel like? And so now, and the star people are saying, this is one of those things where we were saying it's a high frequency. It's not really, you guys don't really understand it yet because you're not really at that frequency. Gamma, we can feel, because the solar energy shifts that we currently are going through is expressing a type of gamma radiation. This is what the star people are saying, as well as the black holes. Black holes pull the information inside and discharge a gamma radiation pulse. And that gamma radiation pulse is a form of a safe spot. That safe spot then is going to have an effect on each and every individual's energetic grid complex. So it's saving all of the information of today, and then it is sending out that gamma pulse so that it's safe spotting us, is what they're calling it. And so that is pretty wild and amazing, because when we can recognize that there's other systems here in place, that you can even dive into different types of meditations and open different doors and see. And so let's take, for an example, there may potentially be other planets, just as an example, not saying that there are or there are not, but there may potentially be other types of planets in the solar system. And when we start to utilize things like astral projection, it is going to allow the soul form to exit the body and to go see for ourselves what is actually up there. When we do that, we can make changes and modifications to the perception. So we can command in the astral, because things that we command happen much more rapidly in the astral realms. And so we can command, show me the gamma radiation spectrum. And then all of a sudden you're going to be able to see. Now, of course, the more and more we do this while in the astral form, this is a form of manifestation. This is why we are meant to go into the astral realms, because we manifest there where we are safe. It is not going to kill our bodies. And so any fears or any fears or anything that we experience in the astral realms, it is not going to cause physical harm to us. And so that is where we go in, and then we learn how the emotion codes are. Okay, I summoned this. This is how it felt. This was the experience I had. Okay, now let me see if I could do it in the physical reality. Many times he's showing me, it's like put, put, put. It's like we'll come back to the physical reality and we will try our absolute hardest to manifest it. But the truth of the reality is that we have to release resistance. When we are at peace, and it's okay if it doesn't happen anyway, and I have nothing to prove to anyone, I'm just being me and having fun and shining my light, then that is when it puts you in alignment to have that manifestation come into your physical reality, which is beautiful. So anyone who is trying to do things like bend the spoon or move a piece of tin foil or summon the weather, these are all very real. I've seen them done. Well, actually, we're correcting. we've seen one lady bent a spoon, and I've seen videos of someone moving the tin foil on a thing. But that's what I mean when I say I've seen it done. Now, today when I was walking, I did another manifestation that the wind would come and knock all the leaves down as I was walking under the trees, and that happened twice. So everyday occurrences, we turn these little manifestations into our real life, and then it opens and expands, and then you start seeing more and more and more of that. And that is truly a blessing because it allows for us to know a tiny bit more with each and every experience that we go through, that this extrasensory abilities are very real. And we are able to do things like program the weather, which I have seen. And we are able to do things like call rainbows, which I've also seen. We sent a hurricane back out to sea once, and we ended up with like 5 different rainbows on Long Island. 5 different people, my friends, they all saw them at different times, which means there was 5 different rainbows, and I saw one too. So I've seen miracles already happen. The way to do it is to unlock through yourself. We have to be loving, caring, kind to all people outside of us. We recognize that each person is a reflection of information because light is information. Every word coming out of another person's mouth is information that we need to hear along our ascension journey. Otherwise, your higher self would have put you in a different place so that you didn't have that conversation with that person. You would have ended up completely somewhere else, and you would have been reflecting off of different people. So every person is a reflection of what you need to hear in order to allow you to manifest your highest and best potential. Everything here is a learning expression. So every single experience that we have is an experience that is designed to give us more insight or a reflection or more knowledge that we need in order to help us to dive deep inside of ourselves. And it's so funny because I used to always laugh. I'm like, the shrinks on this planet, they ask you, how does it make you feel? And literally, it's like, well, how does it make you feel, right? Like that was always my attitude when I was very physically focused. How does it make you feel? What do you know, right? But now it brings a whole new meaning to the concept because how does it make you feel means go inside and cultivate this relationship with the body to such a degree in which you can feel a pen and you can feel what color the pen is. That is a real ability each and every one of us can unlock. When you have a whole group of pens and they're all different colors, you sit down and you hold one. How does this make you feel? Now pick up a different one. The feeling is completely different. There's different energy that shifts inside of the body for each and every color. You can feel this. You can, with the more and more you start going in, of course, I probably couldn't do this a year ago. So many of you guys like, that's crazy. But right now, from cultivating and developing the relationship between my body, I'm telling you with the science, well, there's no science, but I'm telling you from my heart that I felt changes in my energy field for each and every one of these that I held. So now all you have to do is remember the energy frequency. So the energy frequency is basically like this. For one of the first pen, it felt more over here. The second pen, it felt more inside the entire body. And the third pen, only for the example, because I forget, but the third one was more over here. And so, but if you learn how it made you feel, and you could do it a couple of times, pick it up, how did it feel? Write it down. Pen number 1 did this, then put it on the side. Pen number 2 did this, write it down. This is how it made me feel. Now, scramble all the pens up. Have a friend help you so you don't get confused. Pick up one, write down how did it make you feel. Feel the energy inside of your body and how it shifts different. Each crystal does this. And so each crystal, though, we know is given different frequencies because the crystal is properly attuned to a particular frequency bandwidth. Now, when we look at each crystal, we know that it has different manifestation abilities. This one is Pneumite. And so this is one of my favorite crystals. Somebody actually sent it to me and I kept it and I love it. And so Pneumite is a magician's stone. Now, of course, many of the ideas and concepts that I bring, they're very spiritual. And so I use 2 Pneumite stones. One of my other friends gave me this one. But the stones ground me into the physical reality so that I'm able to take all these spiritual concepts and portray them in such a way that we can use them in real waking life. Now, that's very important because the spiritual knowledge that we have, if you can't use it in the real waking world to change or better your life, then you might as well put it up on the bookshelf and wait. because it's not ready for that knowledge yet. But having the knowledge and just having it in the subconscious mind is wonderful, because sometimes it activates us. And so we do go through this baby process of leveling up through different bricks of consciousness. And so sometimes you guys may hear something, and then in a later brick of consciousness, you may get more information about that original piece of information. And then it's like a light bulb goes off, and it's like, oh, I understand this now, because this person was talking about this 5 years ago. That's called an activation, by the way, because the original person imprinted that knowledge into your subconscious mind, and it may have sat there in the subconscious mind, but all of a sudden one day it opened, expanded, and now all of a sudden you are being given more knowledge, more information. That's also what the book does, right? Because the book is an activator, and I've been saying this forever. It's my ascension guide. When I picked up the book and I flipped it open and I started reading it, that's how I felt. I felt like, wow, this is my ascension guide too, because it was me reading all of the work, and then that was it was helping me to remember things about myself. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I went through this, right? This is what I learned, and then it was gone. So it really is a blessing to have different spiritual tools and knowledge to help us to really level ourselves up during these times. Okay, let's see. We do have 3 more questions. We'll try and do them quick because there's only a few more minutes. Magnetic attunements. So a magnetic attunement is an emotional attunement that we can pre-program to allow for specific manifestations to come to us. So an attunement is whatever we magnetize into our physical reality. That's the simple, basic version of what that means. Now, let's take for an example, let's say you want to manifest doing something like accessing the time-space frequency, which each and every one of us can do. So an attunement means that you're interested in it, and it's something that is already in your alignment. Your magnetism has already started to attract that. Otherwise, that information would never be in your field. You would never be listening to it right this second. It's an attunement. It's already attuned to you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. The synchronicity would have made you hit the end button 10 minutes ago. You just wouldn't be here. That's okay too. When we have an attunement, that attunement allows for either an experiential or an emotion code or an attachment to be attuned to us. Either one that we choose to manifest, that is okay too. It is all just an experience. Now, let's take for an example, you wish to have an attunement to achieve something. It doesn't matter what it is. It does not matter if it is an extrasensory ability or not. So let's say you wanted to have an attunement to being the best ice skater that there is. That means that your heart is going to tell you that I enjoy it. I want to do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. It'll always be in your mind. It'll always be in your thoughts. And when you do it, your heart will jump for joy. That's a very strong attunement. So if you can start to program your attunements, this is how we start to take control of our lives. What is it that makes you happy? We always have to go inside, and that's a two-way communication between you and the higher self, because having the higher self confirm, okay, goes through the heart chakra, this makes me happy, then this is what I'm going to do. Now you start to ask questions. Okay, how can I make this my world? So I want to do this full time. I have to pay bills, yada, yada, all the stuff, right? And so, okay, your higher self is going to say, well, you could do it a little here. You could do it a little there. You could do it a little there. And so then you do it and you do it a little more. And now all of a sudden your higher self is like, well, she's having so much fun doing this. We're going to scrap the rest of this. So you don't have to worry about it. So you could just focus on the attunement. That is what happens. And this happens to a lot of people. This is how people end up writing books, because they end up focusing on whatever it is that makes them the happiest. And then all of a sudden your entire life has changed. That is because now you have learned how to cultivate an attunement into your physical material. When you learn this, now you can start to attune your biological form to more and more things that you wish to manifest in your reality. You always have to follow the heart, because your heart is always your best leader. Never a person, always your heart, always your intuitive nature as well. Each and every one of us should always stay authentic to who we are meant to be. That is okay to allow people to drop out of your life. It is okay to put space, because the person that you are meant to be is going to bring you the most love, joy, and peace into your life. And it is okay to shine that light bright, Don't ever dull your shine for other people either, because that's kind of like a soul trap and you get stuck in a cycle repeat and then you have to heal it anyway. So it really is like, you just kind of waste your time and your energy. I've done that one too, but that's okay too. Let me see. Oh, summing in attachments and casting them. We did that one. So casting attachments is really simple. A lot of times people, we want to hold love-based frequencies. And when we start to hold a love-based emotional frequency, then we can cast things like peace be with you, or many love and blessings, or may you find your joy, or joy is with you. When you're summing them and casting the attachments, it's kind of like placing the attachment on the field. That's the reason why they say is with you, because it's a commandment. It is with you. It's already done. So the star people are saying, if you could do that for like joy is with you, or love is with you, or your day is filled with love, something like that. And then that energy is going to cast upon them. But there's also very high frequency things. You can, your manifestations can go wild with it. And so some of the things I do is when I drive my car, thank you for letting him win the lottery. Thank you for sending her to her highest passion, right? And I do all sorts of crazy, but I open my heart chakra and I do it with love, right? Thank you for letting that person spontaneously heal. If they're wearing glasses, thank you for letting their eyes heal. We don't know how these manifestations are going to actually affect these people, right? We see them in passing by. And so what is the harm in sending them a little love and light? There's none, right? If it doesn't do anything, it doesn't do anything. We've all had the experience of sending love to someone and they just don't want to take it. They completely block it. And that's their right to. So we are allowed to cast love at everything and they're allowed to reject it. That's how this works. Some people have this different idea of you're not allowed to cast at people because it's wrong. I'm telling you, it's okay. If they come within your field and your presence, it's okay. I've also set different manifestations into my energy field that all people who interact with me feel lighter and feel healed, and it cleans their energy field. And so you guys can do that too. I encourage each and every one of you to do it because it's only going to help benefit the human consciousness. Because when we focus love and light on each person around us, it allows everybody to heal as a tribe, as a community. And that is what we need more of right now. We need more community. And we do need to really come together in these moments and to realize that we're on this one planet. We're all family. We're all one tribe. Yes, not every person is going to get along, but we can agree to disagree and we can still do what's right for every single person, right? And so when we take it from that perspective, it actually allows us to lighten up a little and to just be okay and to just give your neighbor a hug, right? Do kind things for people, open the door, and really just shine bright and just stay in love. Stay in that focus of everything is going to be okay. No matter how dark or dense things may seem, there's always a baby step solution to get us out of it. And that we will leave it with tonight. You guys have many, many love and blessings. I will see you guys at the Shadow Work Zoom if you are coming. If you guys want the link, just send me an email. And so it is complimentary. We have a lot of people that come. And then we do things like healings and we focus on the chakras and all sorts. I was taking a board, gamma radiation. I wrapped my system in a safety pin. Oh, so amazing. Okay, excellent. You guys come to the Shadow Work Zoom if you want to come. And so we dive in deep. Sometimes we do questions and answers. Sometimes, well, we do chakra healings. There's all sorts of random stuff. You have to just send a message in through daniellelipton.com. There's a little send me a message. And then I send you guys a Zoom link and then you can just link in. Excellent. You guys have a wonderful night and many, many love and blessings.